goodness. And we're not talking about translations here, because the crucifixion, that's the first problem. Internal contradiction between chapter 4, chapter 19, and chapter 3. Number 2, the second problem with the crucifixion, if Jesus did not die, what are you going to do with the historical record? The historical record is very clear. Every historian from that period did know that Jesus died. Just take a look at the 3 greatest historians that we look at when we look at the person of Jesus Christ. Thallus and Phlegon, they're both Greek historians that were debating this in 52 AD. That's just a little, about 20 years after Christ's death. They were talking about that death. They mentioned that when Christ died, the sun went dark and the earth shook. So here's Greek historians that had no reason to admit, or certainly to support, the Christian record, and yet they are admitting that Jesus did die. You have Thallus and Phlegon, then you have Tacitus. Tacitus is a Roman historian. Tacitus did not like Christians. No, he didn't. He had nothing good to say about Christians in his annals. But what's fascinating, he does talk about the death of Jesus. And he mentions that the day that he mentions not only that Jesus died, but he mentions that it happened under the authority of Pontius Pilate during the reign of Tiberius. That's why we know it was in 33 AD, because of Tacitus. Josephus, a Jewish historian, talks about the death of Jesus and curiously mentions the fact that Christians thought he rose again. That's the only non-biblical record we have for the resurrection. So here you have Greek, Roman, and Hebrew or Jewish historians all supporting the death of Jesus. In fact, the question I always ask my Muslim friends is, can you find me one historian? Just one. From the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, up until the 7th century that denied the crucifixion of Jesus. Not one. The only reference to the fact that Jesus did not die is in chapter 4, 157 in the Quran. From the 7th, or as we're going to find out, probably 8th or 9th century. And you then understand why not only do you have internal contradictions, you have historical contradiction. What about the eyewitness account? Who was at the foot of the cross? Weren't there eyewitnesses there? Yeah, there was. John was there, wasn't he? John was the favorite disciple of Jesus. John had been with Jesus for 3 years. He was at the foot of the cross. Jesus spoke to him. Would not John have known who his Christ was? Would he have not known who the man on the cross was? Absolutely. Don't you think he would have said something if it was another man? And what about the mother of Jesus? She had known Jesus for 33 years. A mother knows her own son, and I don't hear anywhere in the reference there or anything that Jesus or Mary had any doubt that that was her son on the cross. And what about the man on the cross? Wouldn't he have said something? You got the wrong man. I'm not him. Help me. No, look and see what he said. Look at what he said on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Into your hands I commend my spirit. That does not sound like the wrong man. That does not sound like the man who is not guilty. That sounds like, I'm sorry, that's not the right word. He was not guilty to begin with. You're correct. But it does not sound like the man who was duped. He willingly went to the cross. He knew that he was to be on the cross. And that's why he was going home to be with his Father. If Allah took the image of another man and put Jesus' image on him and let that man die in Jesus' place and then told no one about it, and for 600 years told nobody about it, what kind of God is that? That's a deceitful God. That is not the God of the Bible.